And after a scintillating contest, India are the champions of Champions Trophy 2025. Basically, champions of the champions, as this tournament is called. Basically, all the best limited overs teams play in this tournament, and as expected, India is crowned as the champions. And it was quite a game in Dubai last night. I mean, New Zealand did fight hard as we expected, and for that we are here to discuss the final in great detail. We're going to go through in a chronological manner, but we're also going to discuss some broader implications as well. So, starting off, around your first reflections of India's win, and then we can sort of start looking at the final in detail.
It was something that was expected. ऐसा नहीं था कि something that was out of the blue because we thought that India was the side to beat in this tournament. Uh, the conditions at Dubai were the most favorable to any team that could have been other than India. In India के अलावा कोई और टीम होती तो शायद उतना एडवांटेज नहीं ले पाती. But India being India and how they managed to uh, take make use of their resources and also the tactics they used, they were the better side throughout the tournament and deservedly and rightly so they are the champions. So it is not that हम डिटेल में तो बात करेंगे आगे बट फाइनल वो it was sort of एक सीन लग गई कि इंडिया went on to win the tournament which they dominated. पहले ये बात होती थी कि इंडिया used to dominate the group stages, knockouts में आके semis में इंडिया used to lose out usually against New Zealand ही होता था ये. फिर आगे जाके फाइनल में they lost the 23 वर्ल्ड कप अगेंस्ट ऑस्ट्रेलिया. तो वहाँ पे वो वाली बात हुई कि आर इंडिया इज दिस इंडियन जनरेशन, ये जो ये वाला क्रॉप है, are they potentially not able to win big games such as the knockouts. तो उनके अंदर क्या पोटेंशियल की कमी है, क्या सीन है, तो ये वाली कॉन्वर्जेशन होने लगी थी. तो आई फील कि जो लास्ट ईयर व्हेन दे मैनेज टू विन द T20 वर्ल्ड कप, it sort of lifted that extra burden or pressure that they used to carry whilst they were playing these knockout games. So when they managed to get past that barrier, वो psychological barrier, and जिस तरह they got out of it, that helped them a lot in this tournament as well. And I feel कि going forward जो भी बड़े tournaments अभी आगे आ रहे हैं, regardless of the formats, I feel कि India will have the psychological advantage, not the advantage, but you could say they will be psychologically in a better place as a team than they used to be a year or two ago because of the fact that they are winning trophies. हम हमेशा बात करते हैं कि at the end of the day it's not the win or loss ratio that counts, it's the number, it's your trophy cabinet that counts. How much have you won as a side in terms of big tournaments. So I feel that this is very good for Indian cricket. Yeah, finally they have started, had not started, but at regular intervals, yeah, you could say कि consistently tournaments में अच्छा करके उन tournaments को finish करना, taking it right till the end and winning it so comprehensively is something that is good for this Indian generation as well.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, it only sort of comes down to approach for me. I mean, पहले we used to see कि जो they used to go in their shells. I mean, they used to dominate the group stages, but then semi-final, when the pressure situation came, when early wickets fell, they all used to go in their shells. And even if early wickets didn't fall, it's it's just that उनके opening batters जो हैं वो अपने shell में चले जाते थे. And but now since Rohit Sharma has obviously transformed himself and he's brought that approach to the Indian side where everyone is expected to play in that positive manner. Subse we are seeing that change since the 2023 World Cup. I mean, they lost the final and but still us World Cup mein they won all the games except the final. And then they won all the games in the T20 World Cup, and then they won all the games in 2025. And so basically they won like 23 games out of 24, and जो एक गेम हारा वही फाइनल है. And so for me, yeah, it comes down to approach. And I think when you get those good starts and the way your confidence level rises up of your whole batting lineup, I would say. And even जब moments आते हैं pressure के, even the middle overs, जो जो for basically baseline set हुई भी होती है by the openers. It just like it just really helps the middle order as well to come out of those pressure situations. So yeah, and that is something that we saw yesterday as well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of credit that needs to be given to Rohit Sharma because he's basically been the catalyst that has been driving this new wave of attacking cricket that Indian cricket has entered into. Not वैसे batting की बात नहीं कर, not just batting, overall because he's the leadership. He's the main leader of this Indian side, or him alongside of uh, जो भी regardless जो भी टीम के कोच होते हैं, it's up to the captain on the field what he wants from his side, अपने player से क्या expect करता है, what he shows up as, किस तरह he plays, and then it is something that is reflected by the performance of the other players as well. So
Yeah,
uh, uh, रोहित के बारे में it's not just about his batting because I know बहुत ज़्यादा conversation होगी इस पे कि how has he sacrificed his numbers. वो I read somewhere, I don't know कि कितनी accurate ये मैं इसको बोल सकूँ, but I think he talked about somewhere कि he'll sacrifice maybe 5 or 10 from his average to improve 20 in his strike rate. I guess so. It's along the same lines. बात है कि but the essence is कि he he realizes that the game has evolved and come up to a point where numbers जो judgment of numbers है वो भी काफी change हो गई है. Now people don't essentially look at averages; they look at strike rates and impacts. I think the point here is that maybe this is because of T20 cricket the game has taken shifted gears basically. ODIs maybe people have started to use T20 वाले tactics, but more importantly the thing is कि क्या results पे क्या difference आ रहा है इस तरह की strategy को use करते हुए. Now this is a very interesting conversation कि पूरे थ्रू आउट दिस चैंपियंस ट्रॉफी हमने जो भी गेम प्रीव्यू किया या रिव्यू किया आफ्टर द गेम, आई ऑलवेज टॉक अबाउट यूटिलाइजिंग द बैटिंग पावर प्ले.
yeah,
किस तरह आप उस फर्स्ट 10 ओवर्स में बोथ इनिंग्स वेदर यू चेजिंग और वेदर यू बैटिंग फर्स्ट, हाउ डू यू सेट द टोन अप. एंड आई थिंक कि इंडिया से बेटर इस पूरे टूर्नामेंट में जिस तरह से पिच को रीड किया, कंडीशंस को रीड किया, उसके आई आई वुड से नॉट अकॉर्डिंग टू द कंडीशंस बट गोइंग अगेंस्ट बेसिक innate nature of any batter who plays in such conditions. The nature would say, just see off the new ball, थोड़ा सा swing होगा उसको, leave it away. थोड़ी सी ball पुरानी होगी, या you go out and then you start making runs. But they went with a completely different approach कि hard ball है, it will go for runs. You just need to take the risks. Maybe you'll lose a wicket here or there. Maybe you won't get a lot of uh, maybe you'll make a lot of runs, but at the expense of 2 or 3 wickets. But are you willing to take that gamble, that risk? Do you have enough trust in your middle to lower middle order? And I think this is a lesson for all the sides around the world. Sides which are potentially developing their middle order right now, and even the top order के किस तरह आपने अपना innings को face करना है, because Rohit understands his limitations. कल वाली इनिंग्स भी फाइनल में अगर आप देखते हैं तो we all know Rohit isn't in the best of physical forms. यानी his fitness is not up to the mark, and I think he himself knows that he's carrying a niggle here or there quite often. And fielding में भी वो नजर आता है. He not, I won't use the word hides himself, but he strategically places himself in places के कहाँ पर he can make most out of his with his current condition. तो बैटिंग में भी he saw this and he understood कि मैं अपनी करंट कंडीशन में किस तरह बेस्ट इम्पैक्ट क्रिएट कर सकता हूँ फॉर माई टीम, and that is by scoring runs by going after the bowling attack in within the first few overs. And I feel that this is something that other sides can think about later. How to develop your openers and the top order in such a way कि वो जो going into your shell वाला mindset है वो किस तरह change हो सके.
yeah.
And I think हाँ बोलो.
I was just saying that I don't even relate this to T20s actually. because if you see New Zealand's success in 1992, we saw, yeah, the utilization of the first 10 overs. Then Sri Lanka brought that approach in 1996. People talk about Sanjay Jayasuriya all the time. Ricky Ponting's side, which got a lot of success in the World Cups, a lot of silverware there. Uh, Gilly used to give them those sort of starts. So I think Emma Nakwi once said that it actually, it's not about T20s. It just makes sense to utilize the first 10 overs to build that sort of platform for yourself.
यार इसमें इट्स नॉट जस्ट अबाउट आप सही रेफरेंस दिया आपने पास का बट आई थिंक कि पहले these were considered to be anomalies. Now
हाँ,
why I'm
yes.
saying anomaly is this कि what आप पहले जब बात करते थे आप कहते थे कि ऑस्ट्रेलिया को देखो किस तरह स्टार्ट होता है. ऑस्ट्रेलिया has always done this. You look at the number of openers they've had for the past 10 years. You could single I couldn't even single one out कि ये थोड़ा सा जो है वो डिफेंसिव प्लेयर है. ही टेक्स टाइम टू स्टार्ट. तकरीबन सारे ही ऐसे प्रोएक्टिव और अग्रेसिव बैटर्स होते थे जो ऑटोमेटिकली उनकी नेचर में था कि दे यूज टू टेक एडवांटेज और वो अटैक करते थे बॉलर्स. सो बट यू कुड से कि भाई ऑस्ट्रेलियंस तो अनोमलीज हैं. वो उनकी मेंटालिटी बहुत स्ट्रांग होती है. प्रेशर नहीं लेते वो एंड सो ऑन. You used to talk about New Zealand कि थोड़ा सा when Baz was there कि he's an exception. The New Zealand featured around him as a batter and as a leader. फिर बट वो स्पेसिफिक एरर्स की बात हो रही थी. बट अब जो है नाउ यू टॉक अबाउट द गेम ऑन द होल. क्रिकेट किस तरह
Mhm.
डेवलप हो गया है. किस तरह इवॉल्व होके पहुंच गया. इट्स एट अ स्टेज where if you don't catch up to it you'll be left far behind. ये वो वाला पॉइंट आ गया. इट्स फॉर ऑल द टीम्स कि इफ योर टीम डज नॉट मैनेज टू गो अप टू दैट स्पेसिफिक मार्क वेयर यू आर एबल टू यूटिलाइज द फर्स्ट 10 ओवर्स. एक स्पेसिफिक बात करें कि नॉट जस्ट फर्स्ट 10 ओवर्स फेजेस को फेज वाइज किस तरह बेस्ट यूटिलिटी के साथ खेलते हैं. इफ यू आर नॉट एबल टू डू दैट यू विल बी लेफ्ट फार बिहाइंड. रिजल्ट तो सेकेंडरी है. You won't be able to maintain your to have your say within the game. यानी you will be playing at the other team's dictation. तो वो वाली बात है.
Yeah,
So I
basically
think
necessity
ये
है.
larger conversation is about this. But I agree with your point. पहले से ही we have examples of sides के aggressive openers, not just aggressive. पहले term aggressive openers होता था. Up now it's not even about aggression. It's about कि you have the opportunity. It's nothing new for you. You have the ability to do it. It's just that you need to do it. You need to take that incentive and do it. Basically.
I mean, yeah, this conversation is very interesting and we can talk about it for hours, but like we have to sort of go towards the game now as well. So again, we saw from New Zealand how Rachin Ravindra tried to give them that quick start and how phenomenal he was. But then Kuldeep Yadav, I mean, I think people are talking about Varun Chakravarti and Ravi Jadeja's economical overs, 1 for 30 and 10. But then I think it was Kuldeep Yadav who actually was was the player who brought India back into the game and basically was one of the reasons why India won that game because wo, that incredible ball that he bowled to Rachin Ravindra and then dismissing Kane Williamson as well. I think the foundation was laid right there.
And I feel we as Pakistani fans, बल्कि all around the
ये
world,
चीज मैं सिर्फ ऐड कर दूं, it was an incredible decision by Rohit to actually bring him early on, वरना वो इतना early on actually लाता नहीं है कुलदीप को. So that also
yeah, exactly.
brings in the matchups बड़ी बात.
I think all of us basically envy India के जो spin resources हैं because you talk about the singular bowlers like आपने एक को रखा. You talk about Kuldeep separately. Then you say no, Kuldeep ने अच्छा किया, but you talk about Varun Chakravarti अलग से. Then you talk about Ravi Jadeja and what he does, how quickly he goes through his overs. और वही अलग psychological warfare चल रही होती है with the batters उस वक्त के. He goes through them so quickly at such a low economy that people don't know कि हो क्या है. So, but coming back to Kuldeep Yadav, I think we all know Kuldeep has the ability because एक तो naturally gifted angle है, wrist spinner है, left arm Chinaman है. There's a lot that is in his favor. When he batters, before even he bowls a ball, many batters in the world already are under his impact. He has that sort of an image. He'll come up and definitely he'll create an impact. He is the one you look after कि भाई इसके ओवर हम निकाल दें. एज पाकिस्तानी मैच हम यूजुअली ये सुनते हैं कि कुलदीप के ओवर्स को आप उसके कोटा को आप सुकून से खेलने एंड देन यू अटैक द अदर बॉलर्स, व्हिच आई नो is not the strategy, the way to go, especially in modern cricket. But उसके अलावा भी the way he has bowled throughout this tournament, उसको किस तरह use किया रोहित ने. We have talked
Yeah.
previously about him being used in the last 10 overs, but इस stage पे when his Rohit's bowling lineup was being attacked and Rachin Ravindra basically was playing a
He's
blinder of an
taking the
11.
game away.
Yeah, he was definitely take. अगर वो 5-6 ओवर और खड़ा हो जाता तो maybe it would have been the end of the game for India at that stage. तो उस stage पे he had the thinking और इतने decision उसने लिया because he knew, he trusted Kuldeep even against left hander he'll be able to take a wicket. Usually जो है वो it's different with different angles and different types of bowlers. Maybe he would have preferred bowling. Would have wanted control और वो जडेजा को दोबारा लेके आता है किस तरह he would have done it. But at that stage, या maybe वरुण चक्रवर्ती for his वो तो दूसरे एंड से करा ही रहा था. But his thinking at that stage is what we know because he did not use Kuldeep in the manner which he used in the final, and this is something that flexible captains do, and फिर वो success उस हिसाब से मिलती. But the lines and lengths that Kuldeep bowls, it's not just about taking wickets; it's the build up to those wickets.
Yeah.
He won't be you won't be able to take those sneaky singles here and there that releases pressure. He bowls 5 out of 6 deliveries right on the spot. You just have to defend. You aren't even able to take a single. And when you try to go after him on the sixth delivery or try to, maneuver the ball here and there, he comes up and takes a wicket. That is how the best bowlers in the world work. And he's quite, arguably one of the very best at this moment. Uh, he's done so well for India, and finally, it's good to see that his contributions have come good in a title-winning, campaign of India.
Yeah, exactly. And it, you were talking about how Indi people are jealous of India's spin resources, and yeah, absolutely. I mean, it makes all the sense. And theoretically, New Zealand also had four spinners, but still, India having four spinners cannot be equated with New Zealand having four spinners because the sheer quality of Indian spinners is just too good. I mean, even if New Zealand brought Vittori and Ish Sodhi or anyone in their lineups, the Indian spin bowling lineup would actually still be better. It's that ridiculous. Okay, so you talked about Daryl Mitchell in the last episode and how he can be important. So after that, after those early follow wickets, especially Kane Williamson, Yardone, well, we all thought that it's game over. It's going to be a total collapse for New Zealand. They're going to get out under 200 or even under 150. But then he came in and he stabilized a lot alongside Latham. So वो फिर एक जो काफी इंटरेस्टिंग जो एक फेज था where they were very slow, but because they had a good foundation up top, so it didn't cost them as much, and it allowed Bracewell to then come in the end and do what he did. But I think कि जो है वो they actually made a mistake by sending Bracewell early. It kind of paid off वैसे मतलब Bracewell did end up playing well, but Bracewell does get confused around spinners, and maybe Satner was supposed to come at that point. So generally about New Zealand's batting approach after those early follow wickets, what do you think? And what do you think about the start that they had gotten being integral for them in the end?
यार आई थिंक एक तो ये वाली बात because they had a quite a decent start up top. They had a few runs under the belt, तो उनके लिए थोड़ी सी आसानी हो गई थी कि even after the fall of wickets they had that cushion of going on with the flow of runs के थोड़ा सा restrict होके खेले. But I still feel कि Darren Mitchell was a bit timid in his approach. He could have done much better, थोड़ा सा और proactively खेलता, तो maybe this could have been a 20-30 added to the total at the end. I think उसके अलावा I मेरा थोड़ा सा different conflicting opinion है about sending in Glenn Phillips at the time which he was sent. I know it's his position and they trust him enough, and he's shown throughout this tournament that he's a batter who can, he's a proper batter who can play at any phase. But मेरा opinion था, I would have liked New Zealand to think out of the box at that stage, and maybe you know uh, sent in Bracewell or Satner at that stage ahead of Phillips here, just so that they could have delayed maybe his entry by a bit. And I know this is in hindsight of both different conversation. Okay, there's both merits and demerits to him coming up, or maybe कोई और किसी और को promote करते उसकी जगह. But I just felt that it would have made much more sense to me had they maybe change the angle with a defty batting alongside Darren Mitchell, because when both the righties were batting, it felt almost as if India were operating in cruise control. Although Phillips tried to, take the game on, he managed to hit a few boundaries here and there against every bowler. And that's just his game. But with that high amount of risk that he takes, there was a greater chance of him getting out. My the only thing I had was behind in case decision के पीछे maybe the thing was कि because Daryl Mitchell had played so much of the deliveries and eaten up a lot of dot balls, तो उसके बाद the only sensible thing he had to do was to take it right till the end by himself. And दूसरे end पे people would have come out and attacked जो तीन batters थे following the dismissal of Tom Latham, which were Glenn Phillips, Mitch Sadner, and Michael Bracewell. So in तीनों को maybe this was their thinking at that stage. You can't really say, but मेरा ये opinion होता है, I know कि इसके counter arguments बहुत हो सकते हैं. Maybe I might be wrong, but just the thought was कि in place of Phillips उनको भेज सकते थे, and then Phillips would have come a bit down. थोड़ा सा spin खेलने को he would have been playing against spin उस point पे भी, but maybe a few overs of pace here and there, and they would have reached a better total.
I mean, Satner generally is a great player of spin vessel. So again, the people were talking about how even Phillips and then मैं तो ब्रिसवेल का भी कह रहा हूँ कि entry point जो delay किया जा सकता था with Sandner coming up top. It's similar to how Akshar Patel comes in ahead of Rahul for India, but then again the argument comes ke because uh, Mitchell was so slow. Maybe they thought okay, Phillips will go and accelerate in some ways. Although he ended up scoring like 34 out of 52, so it didn't really happen. It was actually Bracewell in the end who did the whole acceleration. But yeah, so that was New Zealand's batting. I mean, they made some mistakes, but still, I would say because they had gotten that start in the first 10 overs, they did end up scoring a decent total. 252 is decent at Dubai, and it really proved to be a decent total in the end in the final as well. So let's just sort of go towards the second innings, and yeah, Matt Henry was injured. I mean, the best bowler for New Zealand in this tournament, the best bowler for New Zealand in this format since the last 2 to 3 years. I mean, what kind of luck is that? I mean, yes, India is a phenomenal side, but then still, I think one of the reasons why they won was Henry wasn't playing. I think it really came down to Henry in the end.
Yeah, I agree. I think हमने कुछ ज़्यादा ही तारीफें कर दी थी मैट हेनरी की last time. It worked against him and New Zealand. He got injured. We thought उस वक्त पे कि maybe थोड़ा सा niggle हो and he might get through with playing the final. But eventually it turned out that it was much worse and he couldn't play. He tried. We saw commentary में भी बताया भी कि he came up to the corners, bowled a few deliveries and just went off. It wasn't. तो उसके अलावा आई थिंक दिस क्योंकि inexperienced pace bowling lineup, we talked about this earlier in the preview as well. Matt Henry was sort of